if you live in Florida, you might have heard of George Calvin Bess Jr. He was a student at FAMU University, but his life was taken away from him, but don't nobody know what happened to him. With no witnesses or nothing, but look, don't worry. I did some digging. Let's get into it. Now, before I get too deep into this, I gotta say, there's not a lot of information about this brother. So I had to go over to the Florida Civil Rights Museum, their website, to, get the story on him. But it led me into some other digging. And y'all gotta check out this story. Now, like I said, George, he attended FAMU University, right? He was 22 years old, he was a Tallahassee native, and he was studying history and political science. But he had other things on his mind. He wanted to try to, get the word out to people to try to help them vote. Matter of fact, he was so dedicated to this that he joined the SNCC. That is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I'm gonna be real, okay? I need y'all to like this because it took me about 75 times to say that all together in one clip. Like this video. Now, before we get a little bit deeper into this, I found an article, okay, with his one of his school teachers. And she said when he was, in her class, that he was very, very quiet. They almost didn't think he talked. But when something was going wrong or somebody was being picked on or something wasn't going right in the class, he would speak up. He would say something to try to stop it. Also, when he was in high school, there was issues going on with voting, anyway. And he said to one of his buddies, he said, listen, when I get out of school, my whole goal, my whole purpose is to be able to encourage people to vote and give them the knowledge to vote. Because the thing is, back in the day, there was like a $2, poll tax that, people had to pay. And a lot of the, black families couldn't afford it. So they would either don't eat or vote. You had to make a choice. Now, see, the problem is that black people had the right to vote. But when they did go to vote, in majority of the cases, they would make it very, very hard for them. They would tell them they weren't registered. They would switch to voting polls at the last second and just do all kind of stuff just to, shake things up a little bit. And George, he really didn't like that. So he wanted to make sure that he could change things, not only in his community, but throughout the United States. Now, seeing that George, all right, was a part of the SNCC, they would go to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and all these other states to help people vote so, they can make change in their own community. And y'all got to understand something. This brother is a senior. He's 22 years old, about to graduate, and he doing all of this. That's amazing. Matter of fact, August 5th, 1967, him and a bunch of his classmates, they go over to Mississippi and try to, canvass the area to encourage people to vote. Also help them register to vote. And it wasn't just, black people. It was white students as well that were a part of the cause. But this is where the story gets a little bit strange. So, just recently, George's father had bought him a, blue 1967 sports car for graduation. And he drove that sports car to Mississippi. And when they got to Mississippi, a lot of the students, they kind of separated to, hit different areas as they were canvassing. But George comes up missing. All right? They can't find George for 2 or 3 days. And when they do find George, his car is in a ditch on the side of the road. Now, George is also inside of the car, and he has some other injuries to let us know that he's not with us anymore. But it definitely screamed foul play because not only did he have some wounds, they tried to burn this car. Because remember what I said, this was a shiny blue car, but when they pulled it out, there wasn't no blue paint on it. They burned this thing. Now, George's family, they get word of this, all right? So they, head over to Mississippi. And they don't get any answers from anybody. No witnesses, not the police, anybody. Nobody's helping them. They basically just, hey, we just found him on the side of the road, try to play it off like he was drunk or something. But the family wasn't going for it. So they were doing an investigation. And once the family weren't getting any answers, the dad, he kind of demanded that they get the car back to, their hometown, Tallahassee. And he put this car in his front yard for 6 months. just to show people what the price his son had to pay, for trying to make a change. Now look, okay? Now that I said all of that, all right, let me tell y'all what I think, because they interviewed some of the buddies that went up there with them, the white kids and the black kids, and they said that they all got static when they were doing this canvassing in some of these neighborhoods to try to get people to vote. And what they think happened is that he went to the wrong house, all right? And also, the city, West Point, Mississippi, that this happened in, the police, teachers, judges, everybody were all a part of a certain group that I'm not going to mention. And this is why we probably don't know what really happened to bruh. So it's possible, just possible, that when he went to one of these houses, they were pissed, they followed him, did what they had to do, and just left him there for days and just waited for somebody to find him. Back then, that was things that happened all the time, and the police would just cover it up. Nothing was done about this. Still, to this day, nobody knows who did this at all. Now, I want y'all to understand something. This brother was 22 years old, doing a lot for the community, all right? And a lot of people, overlooked his story because at the same time, all right, in America, there were 3 other stories just like this that just got way bigger coverage than this story. But Tallahassee, they recognized bruh, all right? Up in the Bond area, it's a community in Tallahassee, they named a street after him. That's what's up. Also, everything that George was doing was working, all right? Especially the things that he was doing with the NSCC. Because the cities that they would canvass in, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida, beforehand, maybe like a year prior or 2 years before that, there was only a couple of people in each one of these areas that were registered to vote, all right? But when they came through doing their thing, about a year later, 2 years later, thousands of voters. So what they did still was working after all of this. Shout out to George. Now look, I don't know what y'all gonna do to remember this. Like it, comment, share it. I don't know, but the more you know. Peace.